I asked myself, can you just do the exact same recipes and get the exact same results from the Hario V60? You don't need a Hario V60 Mugen. You really don't. You're not missing much. I guess what I'm saying is that this is a waste of money. I think Hario knows that. There's no need for you to keep buying things just because somebody on YouTube told you that this is cool, this is revolutionary, this is game changer, when it's actually not. I've come to realize is that this brewer really did push me to get out of my comfort zone in a good way. Because I really wanted to like this brewer. I actually do. I actually like this brewer a lot. I think it's cool. It's a different design. I'm still kind of figuring out what point of this really is. Guess to wash it, whatever. But I would say highly not recommend. But I don't recommend you getting the Hario V60 Mugen. I did a video on this particular brewer, the first impression of it. You know, no objections or perceived notions about it whatsoever. And when I did that, when I was editing that actual video, I asked myself, can you just do the exact same recipes and get the exact same results from the Hario V60, the regular one, the OG? Excuse me. And I wondered about that ever since I finished editing the video. So I did a test, and I was not really so much shocked, but I was like, wow, interesting. And then I started to think about it a little bit more. And then I started to look at the insides of the construction, the design of the actual brewer. And when I did that, I realized that we may have been bamboozled. I've already talked about this already, but I think it's very important that I come on here and I'm honest with you about things in general. I believe I am. I don't bullshit. I just shoot it from whatever I see it as, and then that's my opinion. But I think it's very critical and important as when you get first impressions or understanding the context of the person and the situation, that you give it time. You use the device. You play around with the device. You play around with the other devices that you do have, and you're trying to see if it's going to be something that you can recommend to people, because people are spending their money. Is it that big of an investment? No, it's $10. $10, the same price as the Hario V60. If you were only starting off and you wanted something a little different, yeah, sure, you can start with this. It works really well. I even have the Hario Mugen switch, which I really like a lot too. I really like a lot. I think that's really one of the best brewers out there. But the thing about it is that all the recipes that are for this, you can do them on our Hario V60. They work the same. There's no big difference whatsoever. I put it through its paces. There's a couple things that I did notice, and I just want to talk about those right now. So I used 3 brewers. This was done the day before. I did the Mugen V60 and the Origami dripper. All Japanese brewers, right? But the Origami is even more exaggerated with the ridges and stuff. So it does promote fast airflow. When I did the one pour, the Origami and the Mugen were right next to each other. When I did it again, they're close to each other, which kind of makes sense. But I got more extraction from the Hario V60 OG compared to the Mugen and the Origami. When I did a round 2 with the 2 pours, it was a 30-second bloom and then 1 single pour after that. And all these were done at 1:15 ratio. The Mugen extracted a lot more, and I can see it in the bed. I think the total brew time was about 2 minutes. The V60 was about a minute and 35 seconds. And then Origami was really fast. And of course, that one had the least amount of extraction, which makes sense. It's a fast brewer. And all the variables were all the same besides the brewers. You know, the water temp, the technique. I even used a Hario drip assist just to make sure that I was as consistent as I could be with this whole thing. And round 3 was a three pour total. Really 2 pours, 30-second bloom, and then a minute and 40 seconds. And then of course Origami ended a little bit faster compared to the other two. And then the Hario V60 extracted more coffee compared to the Mugen. Not by much, but still a noticeable difference. So I guess what I'm saying here is that all the recipes that I did do, all the things that I understood about the brewers and all that stuff, is that you don't need a Hario V60 Mugen. You really don't. You're not missing much. You're really not. And I think one of the reasons why I did like it so much is because I did have to initially start to think about it differently. Because literally there's no ridges whatsoever on the inside of where the brew actually happens. So the water flow is extremely different compared to what you're used to whenever you're actually brewing your cup of coffee compared to the Hario V60, Mugen, and other type of drippers. But when you actually compare and look at the drippers side by side, they're really not that much different. When you look at the Hario V60 and you look at the ridges, the grooves inside, the way it's designed, the way that it promotes the downward motion of the actual coffee, they don't protrude out as much as you think that it should. And I think when it does that, it's more so like a slower type of dripper, which is perfectly fine. And the way that you can get the fastness out of the drips is, of course, playing around with grind size, playing around with temperature, and of course, playing around with different fast filters. That's how you can increase the extraction, or that's a story for another day. That's how you can increase the flow rate of the Hario V60. And that's how most of these brewers work. But with the Origami, for instance, since to me it's so exaggerated, the way that the conicals, the structures of the triangles protrude out, it has no business but to just keep flowing out. There's barely that much contact time as you see it with the brewer. And I've noticed with this Mugen, the way that you can actually get a faster brew too is fast filters, a cone-shaped filter, because it has already that inherent shape that promotes quick airflow. I guess what I'm saying is that this is a waste of money. I think Hario knows that. I think they know that this is like a cool design. It's different than what they're used to. And it does have no ridges whatsoever. So it kind of gives you that illusion of that you have to go about it differently, which you kind of do. But again, you can use this brewer the exact same way as a Hario V60 and get the same type of coffee. It's going to taste the same. You can do a 1 pour if you want to. I highly suggest if you do a 1 pour, you're going to have to go a little bit finer than you're comfortable with, if that is helpful. On the Fellow Oat 2, I would say a 4 will really get you some really good extraction. But whatever grinder you are on, whatever you're used to, whenever you do like a pour over, go about 4 or 5 clicks more finer. And then you're going to be getting some really good tasty coffees, sweeter coffees out of these 1 pour type of methods of making coffee. And you can do that with the Hario V60. And more than likely, you already have one. You don't need another Hario V60. Again, I review a lot of gear. I hope that I'm helpful to you, but there's no need for you to keep buying things just because somebody on YouTube told you that this is cool, this is revolutionary, this is game changer, when it's actually not. And that's what this is to me right now. And as much as I love this device, as much as I love playing with it for the past couple of months, and even went out to get the Mugen Switch, which I really do like still. It's a lot of fun brewer. I don't recommend this. Save your money, buy some filters, buy some coffee, and just experiment with what you have. Probably with the Hario V60 you already have. You want to get something else that's totally different off the wall, origami dripper or whatever else, but you're good to go. I believe you're good to go. Trust yourself, trust your palate, and trust your creativity. And I think that's the biggest lesson about all of this, really, is that this brewer made me think about coffee differently, because I was so gung-ho on trying to make the one pour work. And as I kept on getting frustrated and started to pick from things that I do with my automatic drippers, different techniques, and all that good stuff, I've come to realize is that this brewer really did push me to get out of my comfort zone in a good way. Because if I didn't have that push or that excitement or that way to actually challenge myself to brew a cup of coffee with a one pour method, I wouldn't have really thought it would be that much possible. And yes, I've done it with the Hario V60, and that's really the point of this whole situation. But since this thing was exaggerated to the max of no ridges, and kind of using it for what it is and understanding the flow rate and how slow it is and seeing how it was mimicking and bringing down coffee and all that stuff, it gave me a different chance and opportunity to really see if I can figure this out, see if I can get different types of taste of coffee out of it. And I did. And I enjoyed it. And you can too in the original Hario V60. So play around, do different things, try one pour method, try a little bit finer, see what you like, see what you don't like. If you like a couple pulses, do that. But you can do so many different recipes, your own recipes, my recipes, anybody recipes, and you might find just something that you just love and gravitate to. So this is me, OK at Everyday Beans, signing off. Like I said, the video will be out soon, whenever, eventually. And I think it's good. I think it's something that people will probably want to gravitate to more and more and more, because you'll realize that you have everything that you have or need. Talk to you later. Bye.